Good afternoon, all. Today's topic for discussion is best practices for building a new home. One of the biggest challenges really in building a home is understanding where to begin. I have with me here today a trusted home builder and friend, Jim McDonnell with Timberstone Home and Design, and he is the president and owner of Timberstone since 2011, but really is a third generation home builder, primarily working in the industry most of his life. I assume you didn't start at 5, however.
No, I guarantee there's pictures of us on the job site younger than 5.
Okay,
so.
Oh wow, okay, well, I stand corrected. The actual home design and building runs in the blood of the McDonnell household because we have also his brother Ian, who is the president and owner of IJM Group, and which is an architectural firm in LaGrange. So a pretty powerful team we have here today. So thank you so much, you guys, for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. I think that people will enjoy hearing firsthand from you that the process really can be streamlined and somewhat painless if you kind of have a system or you have the best practice for what to do. So that's what I hope to share today from your insights. So let's just, and either of you can join in with any of the questions if you'd like. But let's just say, Jim, for the first question, what would you recommend as the very first step in building a home?
I would recommend going into houses that are new houses just to see what you like, get an idea of the design of the house and kind of, the look that you're going for. And then also look at the prices of those new houses or houses that you're looking at of the look you like. Because a lot of times, I think the biggest thing is people don't realize what stuff costs these days. So they come into it and they're looking, price out a certain way and they want everything and you price it out and then they don't realize it costs that much because the building costs just keep going up every year and it's getting pretty bad in Illinois, unfortunately. But so I think the first step is to kind of know what you want and get a feel for the design and the look you want, because there's so many options out there nowadays. It's while on one hand it's great, the other hand it makes it harder for a homeowner because there's so much to choose from. So the more going into it, the more that you kind of have selected in the back of your mind, the better off they're going to be in the long run, and the easier it's going to be for them in the long run.
Okay. So say, for instance, someone does do that and they say, hey, I saw a home on Elm Street and I really like this. I'd like to talk to you about building it for me. Do you recommend, hey, let's go find a lot first? Is that the next step then in the process? Or?
Yeah, probably. A lot of times the area is kind of what determines pricing. So when you're looking, like the western suburbs are kind of a higher end market, so your lot price is a lot higher than say in the southern suburbs or further out, when you start getting into the country land. This area, your teardowns, you run anywhere from low 3s to high 4s or even sometimes high 5s.
Right.
So that's before you're even starting. That's your lot cost. So that a lot of times the area determines on a person's price point, and then obviously school districts are the big thing. That's kind of seems to be the most important in most people's minds. But then the older clientele don't have to worry about that, so they're looking for, there's so many different factors that people want in their house, so that you kind of have to determine an area that you want to look at and know up front kind of your price point as far as a lot to start off with.
Right, and obviously consider that in the total price.
Correct.
Right, when I get a client that comes in the door, the first thing I ask for is a survey, So I'm looking for, in between, say, Western Springs or Hinsdale, there are different floor area ratios, different setbacks, so I'm kind of looking for a survey to start out with when I'm designing a home, because a house that I designed for Western Springs might not necessarily work in Hinsdale or vice versa, So every village has different codes, and so, you want to definitely know where you're going to be building, because that's going to play a major role in the design of the house.
Of course. Okay. So say you have a lot, you have an idea of what you want. what do you then recommend as, to your clients as the next step? What are some of the challenges that they face that are coming that you kind of try and prepare them for?
One is knowing, I guess one is the financing part of it, is how are they looking to finance it? Some deals are where they just pay out of their pocket, but more times than none, it's a construction loan. So kind of having that in place, because there's going to be so much back and forth with the bank as far as paperwork, and then they sign this paperwork and then the bank forgot to get them this paperwork. So there is a lot of back and forth with the bank on that.
Okay.
So that can get frustrating for a homeowner that's starting off the process. A lot of times in a construction loan, though, they need to know who the builder is. So they kind of have to work hand in hand with having a final price to get their construction loan. But yet, if they're shopping around different builders, it's tough to do that. So that's one. And then two is make a file of pictures of stuff you like, and just have a file ready, because it makes it easier for him when he's designing a house for the client, if he knows the style they're looking for and the features they're looking for. And another thing too is pay attention in your current home of stuff that you wish you had, or if you wish you had an outlet in a certain spot or a switch for a light in a different spot, stuff like that. If you can keep a mental note, you can design a house around all that stuff, and in the end, you're going to be happy with your house because you've kind of put so much thought into it while not really putting thought into it. If you just kind of along the way just make mental notes and keep track of what you want and what you wish you had, or stuff that you wish you didn't have. Like, dining rooms are kind of seem to be, some people aren't using dining rooms that often now. So there's nothing wrong with eliminating a dining room from your plan. There's no right way of doing things anymore. So.
Right. Very true. Very true. So Ian, once they have that all together and they come to you and they say, I need you to design me a 3,600 square foot home. And I talked to Jim, we have the lot, we have an idea of cost, we have our financing in line. How long does it take you then to draw up the plans?
To draw up plans, I would say anywhere from like 2 to 3 months, probably. On the long end, we could kind of push that forward to like, a month and a half to 2 months. But really, it really does depend on what the client brings into us. Because the more information that they can bring into us on our first meeting or our second meeting, the easier it is for me to get in their heads and really figure out what they want. But yeah, there's different phases that we go through, kind of the design phase, and then we'll work with the layout and the actual looks of the building, and then from there, we go into kind of a construction document phase where we're kind of doing all the nuts and bolts of the house. We kind of do that after we do the design phase. So the design phase is sometimes a question mark, and because it really depends on if they really know what they want right off the bat, or if they don't. Because that could take a lot more time if we're trying to get through, and trying to figure out together what they want, as opposed to if they come in right away and know, hey, I want a Jack and Jill upstairs, or I want 3 baths, or, if they kind of have a mental note of everything that they're looking for, like a checklist in a house, that's going to make our job easier and streamline the process.
Gotcha. So come with that checklist.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So this is kind of like, what's first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Do you design a home first and then kind of pull things out or in based on how much you think it's going to cost, or do you come up with, you know what I'm saying?
I'd say for a project as a whole, say if I was working with a client, I would say, let's get through the design process, and then I would say let's start getting a builder involved at that point, and that's a really good point where they can do square footage takeoffs. They're going to see the house, what it looks like. They're going to know the footprint. So from that point, a builder should come, be able to get kind of a rough estimate and say, hey, listen, I might be 15% off, but I think you're going to be in this kind of, window of price line. And then from there, we always kind of go back and tweak the design to make sure that it kind of comes in budget at the end.
And like you said, it is the chicken before the egg or whatever, but, obviously a prospective client doesn't want to give their final budget in mind because they're worried that a builder is going to just price their home to that. But at the same time, you have to have trust in your builder, and in the architect. So kind of if they're going in and they have a rough idea of what their budget is, it does make it much more helpful in the long run, because he can kind of design a house with that in mind, constraints, because there are a lot of stuff that goes into a house. So like a big ranch, the roof gets pretty complicated. And there's so much going on with the roof. So your lumber bill is going to be just as much, if not more, than a 2-story house.
Right.
Because there's so much complication that goes into the roof, and that's all based on the design of the house and their layout. So, if he knows their budget in mind, the house he can guide them to, all right, let's maybe eliminate this or that. And then same on my end, I can recommend things where, if your budget allows for it, then sure, you want wainscoting, let's go ahead and do that. That would look great in these areas, but you've got this going on in this area, so maybe you don't want to do it in that area because it doesn't kind of flow with that look,
Right.
It's just stuff like that.
Okay.
So while I understand that they don't want to, give their final number out,
Right.
at the same time, it does help if they trust in their builder and their architect. It does help in the long run because they can kind of guide you in the right direction of what is affordable and not.
Right.
Because nowadays, concrete costs and lumber costs just every year they're going up, and
I'm glad you brought that up about being, trusting your builder, because I think that is really critical. So what do you recommend to folks that don't know a builder or haven't been working with a realtor? How do you go about finding somebody that, you can trust? What would you recommend?
Well, if they have a builder in mind, I definitely try to do research on them and maybe talk to their past clients, just ask for a list of their past clients and let them talk directly to the past clients.
Right.
I know for a fact there's a couple times I'm actually in talks with someone that is looking to get rid of their general contractor because the project's been they've been a year and a half now into it, and they just drywalled. Okay. So the homeowner's fed up, and now, after talking with me, he's understands that it shouldn't have taken that long, and
right.
The builder, I guess, doesn't necessarily know what's going on. He's a new builder. And then there's another instance too where the builder is not really a builder. He just took it up, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anybody could be a builder, but
right.
I think the more experience that a builder has, the better off your house is going to be, and the more timely it's going to be built.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if you have a construction loan, you're carrying. The longer a house takes, those are all more months of interest you're paying, and it's more carrying costs. So while a house isn't built, in a minute,
right.
it can be built in timely fashion as long as, all the information is there and everything's selected, and so.
Yeah, I think that getting a referral, obviously, from trusted people like you, I know you, I would refer my clients to you. So I would recommend to definitely go through the vetting process of getting reviews from clients or customers that have worked with those builders and architects too. Yeah. I'm assuming that you get a lot of your business through referrals.
Yeah,
not only through Jim, but from other people too.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And also too, talk to the village that you're going to be building in. While I don't think they're allowed to kind of recommend somebody, they could at least ask if there's been problems with that builder, or if they know of any issues, and any information they can get from the town. Again, I don't know legally what they're allowed to share, but I'm sure they're able to share something.
Better Business Bureau should have that information too. So. Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for joining me. It's just a smidgen of what takes place in the home building process. But if you are interested in building, give me a call, and we can sit down and talk with Jim and Ian and go from there. So thanks so much.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in today. Whether you're following my podcast on Facebook, SoundCloud, or YouTube, don't miss the next episode. Like or subscribe now to Real Estate Views with Karen Lynch. Tune in and find news and views that you can use. See you next time.